We've made it, guys. We've made it to the end of my Karate Kid movie series reviews. We're talking about the remake, The Karate Kid, which probably should have been called The Kung Fu Kid. But more on that in a minute. This one doesn't star Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi. This is a completely different reimagining of the Karate Kid movies. This one takes place in China and follows Jaden Smith as Dre, who has moved to China with his mother because her job has dictated that she has to move to China, and he's getting bullied in school by the Johnny Lawrence substitute. You'll hear me say that in a minute for this movie. And it essentially follows the plot of the original movie, and he is taken under the wing of Han, played by Jackie Chan. And I wasn't sure what to think going into this movie. Listen, remakes are kind of a tough thing because remakes should really only be made if you can improve upon what made the original so great. Does it improve upon anything that the original does? Absolutely not. Dre is just a substitute for Daniel LaRusso. Han is a substitute for Miyagi. Chang is a substitute for Johnny Lawrence. You get the picture here. This is what we're doing now. And the movie is really formulaic, if you ask me. There's even so many scenes in here that feel like shot for shot remakes of the original. And I'm not just saying that as like, oh, visually it looks the same. No, there are many scenes in here that are written the same way as the original. They play out in the exact same way. It's like a mirror image of everything you have seen already in the original Karate Kid. Everything you love is just written, but it doesn't have as much of an effect on you because you've already seen it. You're already like, how can this be better? And it's not done any better. They don't really change anything around here and there, maybe a thing or two. But other than that, that's really it. For instance, Han in this movie has a very similar tragic backstory to Mr. Miyagi, and the way that they present it feels very similar to how Miyagi's backstory was played out in the original one. The difference here is, though, is that they changed something right after that. That training regimen right after that scene gets me pumped up. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, only a couple of things here and there are changed. The movie's also 140 minutes long. Why is a Karate Kid movie 2 hours and 20 minutes? I have no idea, but there are things in here that the movie is trying to expand upon, so many different subplots that they're trying to make relevant to the actual story that don't really have any relevance in the end, and it just feels like a complete waste of time. And I gotta give them credit though, because they are at least trying to do something with those scenes, their own thing. They're not just remaking everything from the first one when they are doing something that feels original. With all of that said, my tone is about to change, because I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to, despite all of those shortcomings that I have just mentioned. When the movie is on, it's on, man. As I said, that scene with Mr. Han plays it safe, but that training sequence after that, yeah, that's some good shit right there. I get the adrenaline flowing, the energy is pumping, the movie is really coming to its own head here. It's starting to build to a momentous conclusion. I felt like that was a perfect way to follow up that scene. Also, the movie doesn't entail karate. It does kung fu, which means the movie probably should have been called The Kung Fu Kid. Honestly, going in, I knew that going in because I did a little bit of research as to, I was like, oh, is Jackie Chan playing like essentially Mr. Miyagi, which he is, but it's just a different type of martial art. It's kung fu. I was very skeptical of that going in, but it worked out in the end. I don't know how they made it work, but it worked. And now this movie is considered canon since Mr. Han, played by Jackie Chan, is coming back in Karate Kid Legends. I do feel like the antagonists get way less time in the sun in this movie, and they don't feel like threats at all. It's almost like they're this afterthought. It's almost like we're gonna have somebody that is that like Kreese-like threats, but not quite like that Kreese or Cobra Kai level threats. Flaming dragons feel so small compared to Cobra Kai. I didn't care all that much about flaming dragons and what they were in them trying to win the tournament, and essentially their leader, I forget his name, being the Kreese of the movie, but I did care a lot for Dre in the end, which was very surprising for me. While the movie does stick to its formula and remakes a lot of the scenes from the original that feel less powerful and don't present as much of an impact as those scenes from the original. This movie was way better than it had any right to be. Jaden Smith is really good in this movie. I like this relationship that he has with his school crush. She's probably the most fleshed out character in the movie. She's a violinist, and her parents don't want her associated with somebody who is training in martial arts. That was a really interesting perspective that I didn't really expect this movie to have. She was the most fleshed out character in the entire movie. Kudos on them. I was just surprised in the end with how much I ended up enjoying this remake, despite all of its deficiencies and a lot of what feels like mirror images of scenes that were written better and played out better in the original. Even if a thing or two was changed here and there, I still had that adrenaline flowing. I still had that energy pumping. Somehow, the movie got that excitement out of me in the second half, and for even scenes in the first half, some chase sequences that I really wasn't expecting this movie to do. Take that as you will. I think this is better than Karate Kid Part 2. Sorry. The Karate Kid 2010, the remake, gets a B-. I can't believe I gave this movie a positive review. I thought I was going to shit on this entire thing because I really wasn't sure what to expect going in. And while I did expect a lot of scenes to be remade and not as effectively portrayed, what they did right, they did really right. So that concludes my series of reviews for The Karate Kid. Can't wait for Karate Kid Legends coming soon to theaters. I will leave the playlist for all the reviews at the end of the video, as well as my website in the description below. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.